I'm going to turn off auto key. I'm going to go forward in the timeline, just so I have more frames so we can look at them. And I'm going to turn on set key. With set key, in order to set a key, you must physically click on the set key button. And now if I go forward and move the key, you'll see it didn't catch that movement. So I moved it, and I don't have to worry about it accidentally catching that. And if I want to have that keyframe, now I can move to a new frame, reposition it, and click to get that keyframe. Alright, so I want to talk to you about the colors here. If you notice with my auto key, it became a red frame, and now when I have my set key, it is a red, green, and blue frame. So with my set key, because I had filters set for position, scale, and rotation, it has keyframed my position, scale, and rotation. With my auto key, it is only auto keyed my position because that's the only change I made. So if I come back here and I change my rotation, let's do auto key. If I come back here and I change my rotation on auto key, you see that the green line shows up. And if I scale, you'll see I get a blue line. So that is one of the nice things I enjoy about auto key, is that it is only putting keyframes in on the objects I am changing. So as you get more comfortable, auto key is very nice. Just be aware of the difficulties that you may have with it. Alright, so now I have some keyframes, and I can go into something called the curve editor and make adjustments to things. So just to show it, I'm going to go back to it shortly. If I go into my track view under graph editor, you see the curve editor. And this is going to give you your animation frames. So one thing you may want to change when you go and open this up is the show. So down here we have auto expand. And I do like to turn on animate it, right, for both of these. But what it will do by default is it should expand and show any of the selected objects that you have, so we can see the keyframes. Then you'll see that this thing loves to snap. I'm going to use my middle mouse button just to pan and line it up. We have our position keys, so I can just click on position and show those. We have our rotation keys. So you'll see on my Z and Y there's no rotation, only on my X as I set the rotation. And then the same thing here. I did go up at the end of the animation, but for the beginning I did not. So on my position, I only have Z at the end. I have Y, but I have no X keyframes. The keyframes are sitting here because when I position keyed my Y, every time I had a keyframe, it put a keyframe in for the other two. So let's just hold down Shift and you'll see how the keyframes overlap. But there's just no value change at these locations. So you can come into the graph editor and move your keyframes. So I selected the keyframe and I can move it now. Because this is an X value, you'll watch the animation when I move the playhead will move in the X value. It's a little hard to see from this angle. So if I move this back down, we move forward. When I get to that key, we're just moving along the Y value. Just hoping I get the correct key. Yeah, there we go. And now you'll see I'm moving along the X value. So you're able to adjust your animations in this curve editor, or you can adjust with these keyframes. So again, I can just come in, put my playhead over a frame, and then if I have auto key, I can make adjustments for position. And it will update in the curve editor. I can also clear frames. So if I come in and right click on my keyframe, I can delete the whole keyframe, so delete selected key, or I can delete something like the position, or right here I have a scale, I don't have a rotation value. So if I want to get rid of that scale, I can click on it, and now it's deleted that scale part of this keyframe. But the position key is still there. Same here. I have position, scale, and rotation. If I right click, I can go into the keyframe and I can pick something that I don't want to change. So it's a nice little addition. You'll notice when I deselected the object, the frames vanish from the timeline. Okay, a couple other things to go over and look at as we're working through this. So we have our basic track bar. We have looked at setting up keyframes. And now we're just going to look at a couple ways to navigate within the track bar. So I currently have 0 to 100 frames. And I'm just going to move my playhead in the center a little bit. If I hold down Control and Alt and left click, I can pull and add frames to the beginning of my timeline. So now I'm seeing into -40. A lot of times people will actually save just different animation keyframes for like character down here. And in that way they can just pull on them later. If they didn't want them in the animation, they'll just do sort of a repository of keyframes. Alright, so again, Control Alt, and I'm going to just drag that back, and I'm going to go back to 0. And now if I Control Alt right click, I can move the exit frame or the end of the animation. So this is just what's going to play back. And if I do it with my left frame, now I'm stretching out, so I'm only going to see this part of the animation as I scrub. If I Control Alt and pull back so I get to frame 0, now I can play back from frame 0 to 60. Now if I pull with the right mouse with Alt and Control, I'll be able to get back to the original 100 frames. Okay, so we're going to look at selecting a range of frames in our timeline and adjusting those. So what we're going to be doing is if I want to move frames from the position I put them, I can just select those frames and move them. Select a single frame and move it to retime it. If I want to duplicate a frame, so let's say I have my playhead, I'm going to turn off auto key. I have my playhead here and I like that position, and at the end, at frame 90, I want it to go back. I can select this key, I can hold down Shift and drag, and now I have that key back on frame 90, so I've duplicated the key. Again, I can select a range of frames, do the same, or I can just drag them to retime. But let's say I like this movement, I just want them to be a little closer together. I can grab one frame at a time and start positioning those, or I can make an adjustment on the range at one moment. Or I can make an adjustment by going in and right-clicking, Configure, Show Selection Range. By clicking on this, you just get a little black bar at the bottom. And I like to keep this on, it is a good function. So if I right-click, drag over a few frames, now you see I have a section, so 2 white bars and a black area inside. And now I can move these 3 frames by selecting the center. But if I want to rescale the playback, so I can drag from the right hand corner and push it in to time from the end. I can drag from the left frame and push it in time from the right. So I'm able to use this bar, again, Configure, Show Selection Range, and retime my animation, which is very handy.